The latest Pokémon TCG expansion, Temporal Forces, came out recently, and that means we have another GLC set review on our hands. There are 140 cards with new effects legal for the Format Gym Leader Challenge. I'll go in set order, skipping the cards that are generally not worth talking about. As usual, you can check out gymleaderchallenge.com to learn more about this format. Let's start with Shiftry. Expulsive Tornado is a bit slow, but Energy Loop is an okay attack. Shiftry opens up strategies for double colorless energy in grass decks, though a Stage 2 Pokemon is a big investment of deck space. Roselia with the Poison Point ability is solid, but does not work with Green's Exploration. It's worth considering in Poison strategies, though I would prefer one without an ability. As for Roserade, its ability pales in comparison to Le Parfum on a past version of Roserade, so don't play this one. Turtwig. The Solid Shell ability is solid. This card is searchable with Heavy Ball, but it does not work with Green's Exploration or Buddy Buddy Poffin, a new card from this set. I might still play a 70 HP Turtwig with no ability, but this new one is worth considering. Whimsicott. The Uplifting Heal ability is similar to Max Potion on the active Pokemon. I imagine that this card can work in tanky grass decks. Saucebuck. The Seasonal Change ability is okay, but Seasonal Blessings on a previous version of Saucebuck might be better. Bramblegast. Resilient Soul is a great ability for late game, and I expect to see this card in tanky grass decks alongside Kricketune and Leavanny. Rabska. The Spherical Shield ability is unique for the grass type. Unlike most other bench protectors, it is unaffected by Silent Lab. It's also easy to search for with Level Ball. Although it is a Stage 1 Pokemon, the potential may be worth the deck space. Rapidash. 0 retreat cost makes this Pokemon easy to search with Featherball. The attack is just okay and is similar to Yanmega in free retreat grass decks. This card opens up ideas for free retreat fire decks. Macargo. Lava Zone is a decent ability, and the card is searchable with Heavy Ball. However, it tends to be worse than Smooth over Macargo for non-burn decks. Centiskorch. Charring Breath is a strong and cheap attack, but it requires a strategy that inflicts burn status. For now, it's just okay. Feraligatr. Torrential Heart and Giant Wave can knock out most Pokemon even with Luxurious Cape attached. Since it's a Stage 2 Pokemon that provides no support options, it is a big investment to add to most decks. It's still playable, just not in every water deck. Sharpedo. Chew Off is good hand disruption, but the card is mediocre otherwise. Snom. The Powder Snow attack can sometimes save games, but the 2 retreat cost makes it worse than Snom with 1 retreat cost. As for the new Frostmoth, it is generally worse than Ice Dance Frostmoth. Wiglet. Lucky Find is a solid attack. Wiglet is useful in control and mill decks alongside its evolution Wugtrio. Palafin. Vanguard Punch is a cheap and solid attack, and you can add Protection Cube to prevent self-knockout. However, Justice Kick Palafin has higher damage potential and might be better. Raichu. Collateral Bolts is a great spread attack. You can pair this with Flying Flip Tapu Koko to set up damage on all of your opponent's benched Pokemon. Boltund. Electrifying Dash is a good energy acceleration attack, but the card doesn't do much else. I don't expect to see much of this card in competitive play. Iron Thorns. Megaton Lariat is an okay attack, which makes this card playable as a big basic attacker. Bronzong. Evolution Jammer is an okay attack, but most decks have basic attackers, so this card isn't particularly good. Reuniclus has the attack Summoning Gate, which has the potential to put multiple Pokemon directly into play. Although a Stage 2 Pokemon is usually a big investment, this card might be worth running in control decks or decks that play from behind. Beheeyem. This card has a solid, cheap attack, but it doesn't do much else. Fluttermane. The Midnight Fluttering ability is useful in stopping opposing ability lock and abilities that activate only in the active spot like Flower Selecting on Comfy. The attack Hex Curl is okay and enables some first turn kills. This card might be worth playing in general Psychic decks. Iron Valiant. Gemini Laser is an okay early game spread attack, and Zen Blade works well with Dimension Valley. Okay, but not great. This set has a second Iron Valiant. Majestic Sword is strong and also works well with Dimension Valley. You can play Professor Tua's Scenario to put Espathra back in hand, promote Iron Valiant, and deal maximum damage with Majestic Sword. Relicanth. The Memory Dive ability can be useful, but is fairly niche. For example, it allows Annihilate to use good Primeape attacks. Drillbur. The Dig 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 ability is useful for consistency and works well in item-heavy fighting decks. Excadrill. Wild Tackle is okay, but it is harder to set up and is generally outclassed by Drill Bazooka Excadrill. Golurk. 160 is a high HP value for a Stage 1 Pokemon, and Fighting Fist can use triple acceleration energy. That said, the damage numbers are a bit low, so this card is just okay. Lycanroc. Turbo Edge is similar to Battle Step Medicham, which hasn't seen much play. This card doesn't do much else. Mudsdale. Mudstock is very good and provides easy energy acceleration. Its second attack, high horsepower, is pretty average. This card is niche, but useful. Roly-Coly is searchable with Heavy Ball, but not Buddy Buddy Poffin. Which Roly-Coly to play depends on the rest of the deck. Great Tusk. The Wrathful Charge attack is good in Earthquake and self-damaging decks. This card is otherwise not particularly good. This set also has a second Great Tusk. Land Collapse makes fighting mill strategies much stronger. This card can also be used as a big basic attacker, though I would just use it for the mill. Sandy Shocks. Magnetic Burst is a decent low energy attack, and it makes Professor Sada's Vitality good alongside the other fighting ancient Pokemon. Roaring Moon. Vengeance Fletching is okay, but it can't hit high damage numbers in GLC because this is a singleton format. Speedwing is also okay, but Guzzlord is a much better big basic attacker. This card may be useful in strategies that use multiple big basic dark attackers. Metang. Metal Maker is a very good ability for accelerating energy. Because the ability puts cards on the bottom of the deck, it goes well with Giga Magnet Magnezone to search through more of the deck for energy. Metagross is a solid attacker, but it's mostly playable because Metang can accelerate energy to itself before evolving. Melton is searchable with Heavy Ball, but it is not searchable with Buddy Buddy Poffin. Similar to the case with Roly-Coly, the choice of which Melton depends on the rest of the deck. Melmetal has two strong attacks that both require a lot of energy. It can knock out Wailord without additional modifiers, and 160 HP is a lot for a stage 1 attacker. As long as it is set up, Melmetal is a strong attacker. Iron Treads can knock out Snorlax when a future booster energy capsule is attached. Also, the Wheeled Pass attack can save energy, making this a niche but cheap attacker. Koraidon. The Shred attack is solid, and the attack's energy types match that of other dragon Pokemon like Regidrago and Garchomp. It's not amazing, just solid. Miraidon. The Peak Acceleration attack can set up its second attack, Sparking Strike, making it a decent early game attacker. It also has potential to take an early knockout with some damage modifiers. The attack energy types don't match other dragon types, but it still may be worth playing on its own. Noctowl. Talon Hunt is good to set up for the next turn. It's especially good with first turn evolution cards like Wally and Salvatore, which we'll go over later. It doesn't do much else, so it is fairly niche. Dunsparce has free retreat, but it may be outclassed by Strike and Run Dunsparce. The Dunsparce has a good ability in Runaway Draw, and you can attach cards for use later like Technical Machine Crisis Punch. Overall, it's a useful support Pokemon. Chatot. The Acapella attack is good, but otherwise Chatot is not very good. There are better options to retrieve basic Pokemon that also evolve into more useful Pokemon. Pidove. The Emergency Evolution ability is good. It combos with Gapejaw Bog, Frozen City, Old Cemetery, any stadium that can put 2 damage counters on Pidove, allowing it to evolve the turn it is played. As for the new Unpheasant, the Boundless Power attack can use triple acceleration energy, so this card is a fast attacker when combined with the new Pidove card. Cinccino. Special Roll goes well with energy acceleration like Crazy Code Porygon Z. Otherwise, it can be difficult to set up and is usually not worth playing over Make Do Cinccino. Drampa. The Raging Cannon attack is strong but niche. Drampa needs to be played with some self-damage strategy like Zooming Draw Dodrio, otherwise it is inconsistent. Iron Jugulus. The automated combat ability makes revenge knockouts easier and can soften up targets for plus Swallow and Technical Machine Blindside. Not bad. That's it for the Pokemon. Let's now go over the trainer and energy cards, starting with Bianca's Devotion. There are a couple of ways to make this supporter work. For example, Guts Machamp can sometimes survive an attack with 10 HP. Bianca's Devotion can then heal it to full HP. It's also useful alongside damage reduction tools since you can play around your opponent's damage numbers to reach an HP value that works with Bianca's Devotion. Overall, it's niche but useful alongside specific Pokemon. Boxed Order works well in item-heavy decks and control strategies. It is most useful going first on turn 1 since most Pokemon cannot attack on turn 1, or generally in decks that don't attack every turn. It's another niche but useful card. Buddy Buddy Poffin is very good and makes decks with lines that start with 70 HP basic Pokemon better. Most decks benefit from Buddy Buddy Poffin. The ones that don't rely on big basic Pokemon. This card is a win for the little guys. Cryptomaniac's Codebreaking has the same effect as Mallow on a future card. It's good in decks with strong draw engines and also alongside specific Pokemon that have effects when drawn at the start of the turn like Emergency Entry Metagross. It can also put energy on the top of the deck to attach with Metal Maker Metang. This card doesn't work in every deck, but the ones that can use it can play both Mallow and this card. Airy is okay in control decks, but otherwise doesn't do enough as the supporter use for a turn. Explorer's Guidance has the same effect as Hapu on an ancient card. It is useful in heavy deck thinning strategies like Shocklock Lightning Control. Expect to see this card played alongside Hapu. Full Metal Lab is a defensive stadium for metal decks. It's comparable to Crystal Cave, though Crystal Cave is more likely to be played in response to damaging attacks. Full Metal Lab pairs well with other damage reduction like Metal Frying Pan, Pot Helmet, etc., and it's decent. Hand Trimmer is okay against control decks, but it likely won't see much play since most decks don't achieve a large hand size in GLC. Heavy Baton. This is generally a worse version of Wishful Baton, which is only played in a couple of decks. This card won't see much play. Morty's Conviction reminds me of Erica's Hospitality, but it also has a discard effect. It may see play as a splashable draw supporter, though there tend to be better options. Perilous Jungle is similar to Verbank City Gym and will see play in poison strategies. Rescue Board likely won't see much play because there are too many better options. Floatstone, U-Turn Board, and Escape Board are all generally or situationally better, and Rescue Board is almost never more useful. Salvatore is similar to Wally, but it only searches for a Pokemon without an ability. This card might see play in decks that already play Wally and work with Fast Evolution, but it otherwise isn't good. Finally, Mist Energy is useful as a counter to strategies like Lost Mine Sableye. It also prevents status effects from attacks. It's a useful card that forces damaging attacks. That wraps up the set review for Temporal Forces. If you think I missed something important or just want to say something, let me know in the comments. I hope you enjoyed the content and don't mind the long break from the last video. I'll try to post more frequently. Thanks for watching. Bop.